everyone, and welcome to IGN's Overwatch HQ. Today we're talking about the imminent introduction of ranked play, hero changes, and finally we're going to give anyone who wasn't in the closed beta a glimpse at what characters were like before the massive amount of balancing that took place before launch. Did you know Bastion used to have a shield? Absolutely.
Oh, I remember it well, James.
You guys remember it well.
Bring back the memories.
Absolutely. I'm your host, James Duggan, joined by Chloe Rad,
Hello.
Kyle O'Connor, and the #1 Symmetra player in North America, which is actually just a bold-faced lie, but he does like Symmetra, Vince Ingenito.
Hey.
All right, so tell me a bit about yourselves as well as what characters you play. Let's start with you, Chloe.
Yeah, I'm associate editor here at IGN. I find myself gravitating mostly towards Soldier 76, Mccrea, and Junkrat, mostly.
That's a solid cast, Kyle.
My name's Kyle. I'm the social media manager at IGN, so if you ever see IGN on Facebook say something really snarky or just terrible or look really dumb, that's me. I play Hanzo, Roadhog, Torbjorn, and Reinhardt. Those are my four.
You play a lot of characters. I will give you that.
I've between 3 to 2 hours between those four at least.
Nice. And Vince.
Yes, I'm an editor here at IGN, so I write a lot of reviews in particular, and my cast preferences are pretty much all over the place. I play all 4 supports proficiently. I play all tanks proficiently, and I like to mess with Pharah and Reaper on attack, and for defense, I like to mess with Mei and Junkrat.
That was an incredibly long-winded way of saying I play Symmetra.
Yeah, Symmetra. So that's what you
So
said.
let's jump right into
Symmetra.
it. In the news, there are 2 characters targeted for balance changes, and that is Mccrea and Diva. Mccrea probably getting a nerf, definitely getting a nerf, and Diva potentially maybe getting a little bit of a buff, which I think is a surprise to some players. Vince, you have the scoop.
Yeah. So Jeff Goodman, the principal designer on Overwatch, was saying in a series of different posts on the message boards about both of these characters. So with Mccrea, he wanted to make it clear that they're not touching flashbang. Obviously, everyone who plays Overwatch at this point kind of knows the flashbang, fan the hammer, wombo combo. And if you want to kill a tank, you can just like flashbang, fan the hammer, roll, fan the hammer, and kill them. So basically, he can just uncontested kill anyone up close. They don't want it to function that way necessarily, at least not for tanks. So flashbang is going to stay there because they feel that's an important part of his kit. It helps him counterplay some important ultimates and kind of also offer counterplay to some fast teams like with Lucio. Fan the hammer looks like in terms of damage, at least, is probably going to get taken down a notch. And then as far as Diva goes, they were a little bit more amorphous about that. While they kind of do concede that her damage output is on the low side, like Winston, there's a reason Winston's damage is on the low side and hers also, because if they also had high damage output on top of their mobility and disruptiveness, they'd probably be a little bit too much, but they still think that Diva needs something. They just don't know what. So look for that. That's kind of surprising because she's been one of the easier to pick up and play and popular choices for people starting out the game. So she doesn't feel undertuned to me right now, but it's interesting to see what they'll do with her.
So opening it up to discussion just very briefly on this, I think let's skip over Mccrea because I think we all know that he needs a little bit of a damage nerf. He is,
Chloe isn't so happy about it.
Well,
all
I
right,
mean,
fine.
I don't know. I play Mccrea a lot, and I also find myself playing against Mccrea's a lot, obviously, right? And I've never really run into that issue of like, I mean, it is a one-hit kill when you get trapped in it, but like, I feel like Roadhog's chain thing, you know, is just as lethal for me. Like
Sometimes. So if you dodge the flashbang, which is like the one thing you need to do if you're about to engage Mccrea, or you counter it with Genji, then he's still got 2 huge damage bursts that you have to dodge, and it's entirely too much spikiness. I think Mccrea is my most played character.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Having crafted my first skin as Mccrea. But let's move on to a discussion about ranked play. So it was seemingly delayed until July, much to the woe of fans, but actually that was just a typo, so good news for us. Bad news for whoever made that tweet, or post, sorry. So ranked play, I'm just going to run down it super quick. Basically, the way it was in closed beta, it was in there for about a month, and a season ladder at the end, just like Hearthstone, at the end of the month, that resets and your progress gets reset. Basically, the way you climb that ladder is there's 5 divisions per tier. When you get to a new tier, it's kind of like a safe bank spot where you can't fall back down tiers. So how do you guys feel about it?
I think a month is a little short, but if you retain your MMR from the previous round and you get some sort of adjustment like you do in Hearthstone, then I think it's okay. I think that allowed some fluctuation in your rank climb. But if you just go back to 0 and then people that were heroic are now fighting people that are just Challenger 5, Challenger 1, and that's terrible.
That would be crazy, yeah.
That'd be terrible.
Yeah, I don't come from a Blizzard background. I've come from kind of Counter-Strike Go, just competitive scene, and like it's such an alien concept to me to have your rank reset every month. Like I'm not really a big fan of that, but I'm excited to see kind of how that plays out once they do introduce it.
Yeah, like the thing that's interesting to me about it is that if you look at seasons from other Blizzard games, like going farther back, like Diablo, a season would be typically a few months or maybe even a year. So that gives that gives a lot of time for storylines to kind of emerge. This person versus that person. Look at this person rocketing up the ranks. Things like that. This person has the early lead. Can they hold on to it? I feel like a month is just going to be a 0 to 60 sprint scramble the whole time, and then whoever wins at the end is just kind of like, I don't know what they really get out of it, except that when it ended, they happened to be the one on top.
So to that point, one thing I forgot to mention is there are seasonal rewards. So that's
like
kind of some light aesthetic stuff. They're actually still playing around. Maybe they'll have exclusive skins. But if it's anything like Hearthstone, you'll be incentivized to get to a certain point in the ladder because you'll get an exclusive spray, skin, emote, what have you.
It sounds like you just are going to be incentivized to get out of Challenger.
Sure.
Because Challenger is the only one where you can't lose ranking.
That's true.
Yeah.
So once you get out of Challenger, you can start losing divisions, but keep in mind you cannot lose tiers, which I actually am a huge fan of.
Yep.
Because if anything is more demotivating than playing League of Legends and going from silver back to bronze or gold to silver,
Same in CS:GO.
Yep.
it's brutal. It's
Yeah.
totally brutal.
No, yeah,
and
there's been times
Yeah.
I'm just like, nope, done, and I get off for
so I
weeks.
recognize that I'm conceding a little bit of like my hardcore gamer clout by saying that, but I actually think it's a really good decision.
Yeah, my thing about it, I want to see what kind of rules they enforce for that. Like, I really feel strongly that there should be a two of the same character maximum in that situation, because I think that, I mean, yeah, sure, the game is all about switching, you can stack characters, but I think it's fairly obvious that anything past 2 is basically trolling. It's not necessarily a sound strategy. It's just kind of something that people do because they think it's funny or silly. And like, it's fine to do that in pub games. If people want to have their good time, they want to have their fun, that's fine. When I'm playing for real and it's about ranking, I want only viable, team compositions to be.
I once went against a team of 6 Torbjorns, so yeah, let's not have that in competitive.
I think
Yeah.
they should also limit the in the ranked gameplay the amount of times you can switch characters per round.
Now, I'm curious about why, we talked about this briefly, but I'm curious what your reasoning for that is, because I feel like that's such a core, part of what the game is about, is adapting to what your opponents are doing. Why limit that?
It kind of makes a chess-style layer of rock, paper, scissors. You're like, okay, you got to keep track of this guy. Oh, he was Soldier 76. And then later in the round, he switched to Torbjorn, so he's got one more switch. And then everyone, if they want to change as they go along, you could either start playing zone defense or player defense. Like, all right, you need to counter whatever this guy changes every time.
It
adds
keeps
some
the
complexity.
long-term strategy there,
Yeah.
I guess.
I think what's interesting about that too, I'm sorry,
Well, I disagree with all of you. Let
Okay.
it just be known, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I think that the game shifted to a conventional payment model so that no heroes were locked behind any paywall, so that you could change heroes at any time. That's a core philosophy of the game. And it's an interesting thought, but I could totally see a scenario where, like, okay, I counter you counter me, I counter you, you ran out of switches. Haha, sorry, it's a ranked game.
Sure.
I feel like switching heroes is a part of the skill cap in the game, and being proficient with an enormity of heroes is a part of the skill cap, and competitive should test that.
Yeah,
and
I agree with you about that.
Yeah.
Having the knowledge to adapt your strategy on the go.
On the flip side,
There
though,
needs to be a price to be paid. in
on
my
the
opinion.
right, well, yeah,
Blood.
on Kyle's to Kyle's point though, like in Street Fighter, for instance, competitively, like the loser of a match has the opportunity to switch characters, right? So like they don't have a hard limit on the number of times they can switch, but they kind of do, because it's once the set ends, they obviously have no opportunity. So the idea is, if in the first place they were outpicked, then they're at a disadvantage. Sure, they can switch characters, but then for the third game,
Sure.
the other person gets the last switch, and then they're stuck with whatever they have, and that's actually kind of interesting, because it kind of does incentivize players to at least come out of the gate. If there's a limited number of switches, it makes players have to try to guess what the other team's comp is going to be, and if they guess wrong, they can be punished for it. And that's
also
kind of
prevents
interesting to
cheese.
me. That's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that should be a problem that is tackled reactively as opposed to preemptively. If there are a 6 Soldier 76 comp that totally is working and people are just frustrated with it, then yeah, maybe they should consider it. But I don't necessarily think it's something they should limit straight away. But anyway, let us move on. See, the best part about being host of a podcast is you always get to have the final word on any given topic. So, new heroes. Very exciting. This is something that I got super excited about in beta when Genji was announced, when Diva was announced, when Mei was announced, just all kinds of new heroes.
Genji.
Genji's just the greatest. So 2 new heroes potentially coming down the line. One we know a lot more about than the other one, and that one is Sombra. And she is kind of, has been leaked, or maybe intentionally leaked or whatever, as this sniper support character who has a masked, just kind of aesthetic to her, which sounds super interesting. I'm very curious as to see how a sniper can support a team without just that really trolly thing of being like, I am supporting the team. I'm getting headshots, bro. Which is what I say frequently. But
I just vape and get headshots. But actually, it's funny that you say that because I think we have kind of a little bit of a blueprint for this kind of a character in Hanzo, actually, because he is classed as a sniper, but he also has abilities that are designed to help his, so the scatter arrow isn't necessarily a support ability, but like Sonic Arrow absolutely is a support ability.
Sonic Arrow is such a pivotal part of his tool set. Like if you're not using it, you're messing up.
Yeah, absolutely. So and that gives his whole team, information about what's going on at key intersections of the map. So I feel like there's definitely room for that. What I think is kind of cool is, there's these. Overwatch is this weird thing where there's the 4 main classes, but then they have subclasses like sniper. Like the game will inform you don't have enough snipers or you have too many snipers. So the fact that all the snipers are under the defense banner has kind of limited the opportunities for that. I like playing a precision character, but I also want to play a precision character that kind of plays more to my strengths, which is to support my team. So I'm curious to see what they come up with.
So Chloe, you come from a Counter-Strike background. I saw a play of the game from you from Soldier 76, and I thought it was going to be an ult. It was not an ult. She just headshot everyone. It was really impressive. So have you played with Widowmaker at all? Are you interested in sniper characters?
I'm actually not super interested. I kind of like being in the middle of the action in Overwatch. I feel like there's just so much going on that it's a lot more fun to be in the middle of things rather than out in the background. I've played Widowmaker a bit in the beta, and I just kind of got bored of it. But I know that this new character Sombra is supposed to have more of like a high-powered sniper rifle over like Widowmaker's transforming rifle or something.
That's terrifying to me.
Yeah. I don't know. If it would be really interesting to see like a sniper character that can be kind of closer range, if that makes sense, especially because this character is going to have the healing item there.
Sure.
So like someone who can kind of be in the middle of it, but also be able to like quickly like retract herself from the middle of the action.
I'd be interested to see if she's capable of dropping some kind of cover like that. We haven't seen that too much. Yeah, no,
like a
like Maze ice wall, but like a little sandbag. Or something.
Right, like something, or like an energy, like basic. Think of it. I'm thinking in my head, it's more like a Reinhardt shield that's stationary that you just drop and people can use. Maybe something that if you fire through it, buffs the damage of the shots that come through it or something.
Oh yeah, that would be a MOBA mechanic that they would borrow and that gets used a lot. Yeah. like a power gate.
That would be really cool. The other character, Liao, was only teased in a little bit of a lore excerpt where she was mentioned among the founding members of Overwatch, who, for anybody who is not in the know, is 76 Reinhardt, Reaper, Torbjorn, and Pharah's mom, who we don't know a lot about. But we know nothing else about her that I'm aware of, so she is coming down the line, and that just opens the floodgates for like what archetypes can they bring into this game in terms of stuff that we haven't seen. The first one that pops to my head is like a xenomorph alien wall crawling dude. But Kyle, I know you had one. What do you got?
I've got one. I want to preface this with that a lot of the new characters they've added, they teased in the game in the levels itself. So I think we're going to get Doomfist.
Yeah, I agree.
And the archetype I would love to see is a melee character. All of his moves are melee centric, similar to like a Monk from WoW or like Lee Sin from League of Legends. So
would he be a tank or an offensive character? What do you think?
I think he'd be like an off tank, like Zarya. And I think if that happens, it'll be someone like Doomfist.
I would love to see an offensive character that was focused on getting kills as opposed to something like Reinhardt, which we already have, who is a melee character who's a tank, but he's a little bit more behind enemy lines but really has limited range options. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think personally, I'm doubtful. It's doubtful that we'll see an attacker as the next character because the attackers are already top heavy. There's 6.
You don't say that.
there's 6 attackers already. Only 4 supports.
They're probably going to add another support.
Yeah, I think the sniper support is a good. We'll round that group up to 5. And then I think it's time to start getting the other ones, other than attacker, up to 6.
But you need more attackers and you need more support than supports. So the reason that there's less support characters makes sense because you need more offensive characters.
I agree with that philosophy, actually. From a World of Warcraft 3 attack, 1, I mean, Overwatch is not World of Warcraft
3
by
DPS,
any sense.
1 support, 1 tank.
We have yet to see an established meta of like, this is exactly how many tanks you should have. This is exactly how many supports you need. And I love I think my favorite thing about Overwatch is that free-flowing aspect of being able to change characters at any time. Really just opens up the floodgates to people trying new things. Chloe, by the way, you play a ton of Soldier 76.
Yeah.
I was harping on Vince a little bit earlier for playing Symmetra, but you get around with the different characters. I see you on Soldier 76 a lot, and you're very proficient, and he's a very good character. But what are some of the other characters that you've tried and just really didn't click with you, and what didn't you like about them, and what are some of the ones you have tried and you're looking forward to playing more of?
So I actually recently started playing a lot more Junkrat on defense, and I am kind of obsessed with it right now. Like, it's super fun. I don't know. Like, he's almost the opposite of Soldier 76 too, because he is not precision based, right? He is not really meant to be up in the middle of things, but it is just so fun. Like all the things he has to throw around, like setting traps and stuff. Yeah, Junkrat. I think for a character that surprised me, but as for characters that I'm not really a big fan of, I kind of can't stand Mei.
You can't stand playing against her, or can't stand playing as her?
Both. I don't know.
I do feel bad like when I play.
When I play as Mei, I feel dirty.
And I get
and
headshots,
I think it's because next to Bastion, which we can talk about later, next to Bastion, like Mei is one of the most annoying characters for me to have to counter. And so when I play her, I just feel so guilty, and I avoid it.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I know you started playing Torbjorn recently.
Yes, yeah. So I picked up. Both you guys heard me nonstop whine and just cry about Torbjorn.
Back in the beta.
During the beta.
Before they changed him.
So during the beta, I played Roadhog and Genji, right? And then I picked up Hanzo during one of the streams. But I ran my mouth about Bastion and Torbjorn. I picked up Torbjorn this last weekend, this Memorial Day weekend, and holy crap, he is so much fun. His turrets are cool. That's a great mechanic, really fun. You got to be smart and make strategic choices with his turret. His gun, though, his gun is amazing. That projectile is like a slow-moving Hanzo arrow, and it hits so hard.
Yeah.
And then he's got the shotgun.
Yeah, and what I love about him that's interesting to me is that he's, like Overwatch obviously isn't a MOBA, but and there's not even that many MOBA mechanics really that have played over in terms of its overall structure. But what I think is cool about Torbjorn is that he's the only actual snowball character. Like if you feed him kills, and not just him, if you feed his team kills, and he picks up all that scrap everyone becomes so much harder to. If you keep him giving him a constant supply of scrap, his team just becomes
really
unkillable. and that's interesting to me.
Is great. It's so fun. Like it compels you to not. Bad Torbjorns. So this is what everyone complains about. Is bad Torbjorns all they'll do is hang out by their turret.
And they're like,
ding, ding, and they just hang out by the turret. A good Torbjorn sets up the turret, and then he basically creates a zone defense. And so what you should do is you should set up the turret and then run around with this gun and just wreck people and pick up the scrap and provide the armor to your team. That's how you should play Torbjorn.
It's 75 additional hit points and it's armored. So so the effective hit points, depending on what you're fighting against, could be as high as 100, 125 extra hit points.
So if you put that on a tank, it's cool. If you put that on a tracer, it's
That's
nuts.
a huge deal. It's a huge deal.
Yeah. He's great. And I've gotten so many just satisfying headshots with that gun. Just fire it and then watch the projectile.
It dips a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a little lob, and it feels like old school tank projectiles from tank games.
Yeah.
Oh, it just feels so great.
This is a very fun character.
Yeah. Blast.
All right. So for the final remaining minutes of this segment, do we have any more crazy? I mean, this is our time to pitch Blizzard our ideas for heroes.
Chloe had an awesome idea that we were talking about before the show.
Like more of a stealth-based hero would be
like
cool.
The spy in TF2 you were saying,
yeah, like
right?
the spy in TF2. Like I know Reaper is kind of the only stealth-based hero there is, but maybe even combined with a melee type hero. Kyle.
Ooh, man, I would love it. Like what they could do with melee, like just looking at the monks and all the Diablo and World of Warcraft, that'd be great. Imagine seeing what's it called, like the little roll, like charge across the screen as a monk. Oh god, it'd be so it's gonna be Doomfist.
And the ult that isn't in the game that I want to see. Like all the ults, like they're again, it's not Overwatch is not a MOBA, but there are some things that they pull over, and some of the ults are very similar to different ults.
Spin to win.
Right, exactly. But the one I want to see is like if we do get a stealth character, I want their ultimate to be like Cloak of Night or something like that. That makes the whole team cloaked for like 5 seconds or 10 seconds.
That would be brutal. The things you could do with that would be
super
super
So the whole
fun.
team could reposition for free and set up an ambush. That would be.
That's Cloak of Shadows from WoW, and they've already taken stuff from WoW, so that makes a lot.
It's extremely possible.
Taken from their own game.
From their own game, right?
All right, we mentioned a little bit some of the heroes that annoy us and things like that. And the hero that annoys the most people, I think the consensus is either Tracer, but I love Tracer. So it's definitely Bastion over there.
Yep.
Destin Legary
Destin
loves Bastion.
The monster that he is only plays Bastion.
Are you serious?
He actually
he
actually
surprisingly
loves Bastion, and not just because he's effective, because the character's effective, perspective, but he
disagree.
He seems to love the character. I've talked to him about it. He seems to just love the character design. He thinks it's a cool idea.
Yeah, so Destin's a monster.
So
I tried, Destin. I tried.
There are ways that you can make your Bastion a little bit better. Like it was on Reddit the other day, but basically like jumping off of a ledge and then shifting while you still
Transforming while
have
you jump.
momentum, like around a corner is very effective. But anyway, that's definitely the best way to play coming up. But Bastion isn't even as crazy or annoying as he used to be, which I think is very interesting to people who just got interested or just got access to this game right now. In the closed beta, his initial iteration, actually even before the beta, he had a little mine he could lay, but that's neither here nor there. So in the first iteration of the closed beta, he had a Reinhardt shield in front of him that would recharge.
Passive.
A 2,000 hit point shield that would regenerate after not being
It wasn't
hit.
2,000.
No, it was 2,000.
I think
What?
it was 2,000.
Yeah.
It was either 2,000 or
back me up.
it was either 2,000
I
or
don't know.
1,000.
It was
I
a
can't remember.
straight up
It was still a
Reinhardt shield, which
ridiculous
is
amount,
2,000.
yeah.
And
It's too much.
Yeah.
you guys heard me cry about him so much. Like,
Yeah.
I would come in the next morning like, I hate Bastion.
So-
I hate
It
Bastion.
ruined so many last-minute pushes for me.
I know.
There was actually one time where he positioned himself on Watch Point Gibraltar out of the initial exit on a cliff, and I just couldn't get behind him. There was no way to get behind him, and it was terrible. But anyway, you could only turn about 180 degrees, so it wasn't just the worst thing ever. There were ways to counter him. You just got behind him with Tracer, shot him in his little like
Robot
blue
head.
thing,
Stupid robot
Sure.
head.
and he was done. But then they decided he needed a nerf. Or maybe just a change, and he came in, and for like 3 days in beta, it was insane. He went into turret form, and I think he got like 400 or 500
They
armor.
took away the shield, so that's
Yes.
the thing. They took away the shield, but
They gave him a ton of armor, and he was omnidirectional, and he was just nigh unkillable for like 3 days, and they hotfixed it. So that's a funny little quirk about the amazing balance that's happened
You
on
guys
this
got
game.
it good.
right. If you think Bastion is bad now, oh my God, you have
Yeah.
no idea.
That's basically what I'm saying. I'm pulling a hipster version. But to that end, let's talk about some of the places that heroes have come from. And you know, a lot of people have questions about this hero or that hero. Why is that like this? It's all from a testing perspective, and I'm going to give you we're all going to give you a little bit, because we all played the beta, a little bit of our 2 cents about why this person was nerfed or why that person was nerfed. So we talked about Bastion to death. Let's talk about Torbjorn again.
Sure.
He was another character. These 2 defensive turret sentry characters were very, just very controversial. A lot of people were like, they're fine. A lot of people were like, they make the game not fun. But Torbjorn is, in his initial iteration, a lot like an engineer from Team Fortress 2, needed scrap to build his turret, but he could upgrade it to
the way to
rank
3.
3.
Yeah.
if he had enough
So
scrap.
he could build the turret for free, but he needed scrap to upgrade it to level 2 and then to level 3 afterwards. It didn't take scrap to repair the turret though. So here's the problem what I like about the way they changed it, when they said they were going to change him, I was like, oh no, they're going to nerf the hell out of him and make him unplayable, which I didn't want because I thought he was a neat character. But what they did with him was they made it so that upgrading his turret doesn't cost any scrap, but that he can't go to level 3. So that keeps it from getting his turret from getting out of hand. But the nice thing that it does is it means that instead of having to think to yourself, I have all this scrap. Should I use it to make my turret a godless killing machine? Or should I use it to help my team? No, now scrap can only be used to help your team. So now Torbjorn doesn't have to make the choice, do I want to go all in on my turret or do I want to help my team? Now Torbjorn is free to, I can build my turret, it can get reasonably powerful, but the only reason for me to collect scrap and the main reason scrap exists is to keep my team alive and keep them healthy.
And
I
just,
like that.
just for clarity, the level 3 turret is the one with the rockets on top that when he uses his Molten Core ultimate, he gets. Chloe, you don't, or to my knowledge, have never played Torbjorn. You only play against him. Is he just an annoyance to you? How do you perceive that character?
I don't know. I mean, you can't complain too much about the stationary, like his turrets and Bastion sentry mode or whatever. Like it's fine to deal with, especially as Junkrat. Like it's a pretty good counter to Torbjorn. So I usually don't have too much of a problem with him.
Yeah, both Bastion and Torbjorn are easily counterable. Like, I play Roadhog. The only reason I picked up Roadhog was to counter Bastion.
Great counter to Bastion.
Yeah, you just hook him out of turret form and thanks for coming out. I appreciate it.
I just recently learned you could do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you hook him straight out and you shoot him once and I think you have to hit him.
And you melee and he's dead.
Yeah, there's
the
a ton
combo.
of crazy interactions. I just learned, I'm still learning new stuff, and I've been playing for like almost, 8 months? A ton of time. But I don't know if this is a bug or not. But anyway, Junkrat's trap can actually eat health of its damage.
Oh, you want to know a really cool one too? Genji's Deflect. It can block Soldier 76's biotic field.
If he's close enough.
Yeah, it registers it as a projectile, which is Like, there's just so many.
So then you get the heal,
Yeah.
which is insane.
That'd be amazing.
cool.
There's just an enormity of YouTube videos being created about. We did like an attempt at a MythBusters series,
Yeah.
which was quickly snagged by YouTube. They were like, no, you can't do this, but we can. But in it, we learned that like you could take a Junkrat tire up a May wall and like use it to catapult the Junkrat tire. There's just all these interactions I
never
feel like
thought
have
of
been
that.
thought
Yeah.
of.
Reinhardt's hitting Reinhardt's.
Yep. Yeah, Reinhardt's like having a target in between them.
2 weird Roadhog interactions I've had. I've pulled someone who was trying to get out of line of sight of a Diva ult. I pulled him back into the ult, and oh my god, that feeling felt so good. I've also, me and another Reinhardt hooked each other simultaneously, and it just negates each other. And nothing happens.
I was gonna also say, has anyone tried to hook Riptire?
Oh no.
Oh, yes. I believe I've seen that happen, but I could be mistaking it for something else. Yeah.
I think it damages it.
I'd be interested
Yeah.
to see how that works.
Yeah.
So there was also a time when Genji and Lucio, the fastest and nimblest besides Tracer, who's already at 150 HP, were nerfed down to 150 HP
Right.
to see how they would do. And when I started playing the game, I decided I was getting in good and early. I could play a high skill cap character and learn them, so I picked Tracer. And eventually I just tired of her because regardless of how good you are, how good I am, let me say, my skill cap, there were times when I would get hit by a random projectile and just die because 150 health is nothing. Now with Tracer, she's blinking all over the place. She has a rewind, which is basically a full heal if you time it right. But with Genji and Lucio, that was brutal.
Yeah,
so
it
you
was
had
really hard.
150 HP on Genji. So you had your deflect, and then that was it. You were a glass cannon
Thanks
who
for coming
needed
out.
to be at melee range. Right. And he wasn't played a lot, but thankfully they reverted those. But is there anybody in the game that you feel has too high of a health pool for like the rest of their kit, May?
I think I think May is so. I think
What's
actually
she at? What is her health at?
250.
250.
So
Okay.
she's 250. So what I think is interesting about May is that at least the problem I always have with her is that one-on-one she beats everyone but Roadhog and Mccrea, and Roadhog only if
Unless you're real good.
Right, unless you're real good, exactly. So the problem there though is that like from the time she starts slowing you, you have very little time to kill her or get out. So, and for a lot of characters, getting out's not an option.
Exactly.
So it's just a matter of killing her. I think if you brought her health down from 250 to 200, that might make it so that characters like Reaper, who are supposed to be dominant up close fighters, could definitely have a good shot at killing her before she freezes them and kills them.
Or even just bringing her down enough that she suddenly, the player will realize like, okay, well, I need
Okay,
to get out
this
of
isn't
this
working
maybe.
out, I have to get out. Right,
Not a
exactly.
priority to freeze them anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
McCree could snipe. There was no or minimal damage fall off.
Yeah.
that was ridiculous.
yeah.
I will admit that as a McCree fan. It
was
reminded me of the R8 revolver they added to Counter-Strike Go.
Oh,
that
God,
pissed
that
everyone
thing.
off.
Yeah.
It was just, do you remember that? Like,
do.
it's just too much. So
And then finally, Widowmaker's 100% charge shot did 170 damage. This is a factoid you provided me with.
Yeah.
So when she was buffed by Mercy, she could
One shot, center mass.
a significant amount of the cast.
Yeah, pretty much any attacker except for Reaper and most of the cast.
Cool. All right, everyone, that's it for the pilot episode. Let us know what you thought. As this was an experiment, there probably will be more episodes, but not until after E3. Let us know ways we can improve, what you thought we did right or wrong, and you can watch and listen to Overwatch HQ on IGN, YouTube, Xbox One, PS4, iTunes, and other platforms. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Thank you so much for being in the pilot episode. You were all an absolute pleasure to have. And remember, the world could always use more heroes, so for all things Overwatch, keep it right here on Overwatch HQ.